If you look at a modern zoo enclosure,
Yeah.
like one that's designed for an apex predator like a lion.
Oh, right. They're marvels of engineering, honestly.
Yeah, exactly. The temperature is just, perfectly regulated. The food is delivered on this ultra-precise schedule, and all the external threats, they're completely removed.
Right. Which, I mean, from a purely statistical standpoint, that animal is basically living in a utopia. It is practically guaranteed to live a much longer life than it ever would if it were just fighting for survival out in the wild.
Right. The risk has been entirely engineered out of its existence. But if you look closely at that lion, it's pacing the glass.
Yeah.
It's highly neurotic. Its mane is thinning out,
Yeah.
and its stress hormones are just completely off the charts. Like, it is surviving, yes, but it is fundamentally broken by the very environment that is keeping it so safe.
It's a really powerful image.
And according to the really fascinating, highly controversial survival manual we are diving into today, that lion pacing behind the glass, that is you. That is the modern man sitting in a corporate cubicle.
Yeah, it's quite the hook.
It really is. So welcome to the deep dive. We are unpacking an incredibly intense ebook today. It's called Allostatic Load: Master Your Body and Mind Against the Modern World by Conrad Riker. And if you want to follow along or grab a copy for yourself, definitely make sure to check out Amazon, Kindle, and Google Play Books.
And take a second right now to like and subscribe to our show so you never miss these explorations, because today's is a big one.
It is. But before we go any further,
Yeah.
we really need to establish a very important framing note here.
Yes, absolutely. We have to put a pin in this right up front. The source material we are looking at today, this book by Riker, it is highly politically charged.
Derek.
It dives deep into men's rights activism, the modern manosphere, anti-feminism, and just these really aggressive critiques of institutions that the author labels as, quote, woke.
Right.
So we want to explicitly clear to you, the listener, we are not taking any political sides here.
No, not at all.
Nor are we endorsing these viewpoints. Our goal is strictly to impartially report on and analyze the concepts, the underlying arguments, and the worldview that is presented in the original text.
Yeah.
We just want to understand the mechanics of this philosophy and, what its rising popularity says about our current cultural moment.
Exactly. Okay, so let's unpack this. The author's core thesis basically operates on a very specific premise, which is that modern life is a deliberate trap designed to chemically and financially castrate men.
Yeah, it's a bold claim.
It really is.
Yeah.
Riker argues that our institutions, and he means everything from marriage laws to your corporate HR department, have been captured by feminist and Marxist ideologies. And rather than just being, annoying or bureaucratic, he claims these captured institutions work in direct opposition to male biology.
Right, and if you are a fan of Riker's work, you probably already follow at Conrad and Riker on Substack, where he expands on these ideas weekly.
Yeah, he writes a ton about this.
But it's a total systems critique in the book. He isn't just complaining about toxic office politics. He is arguing that the modern environment itself is a literal biological mismatch for how the male nervous system evolved to function over thousands of years.
So let's start with that biological mismatch, because the physical toll of modernity is really where he builds his entire foundation.
Right.
Throughout the text, he constantly compares the physical vitality of historical men. So we're talking Spartans, Vikings, 1950 steelworkers.
The classics, yeah.
Exactly. He compares them with today's desk worker, whom he derisively calls a soy boy. He points out that your expensive $1,200 ergonomic office chair isn't a luxury. He literally calls it a betrayal.
A betrayal.
Yeah, the claim is that sitting for 6 hours a day spikes allostatic load, which is this chronic accumulated stress, by a massive 40%.
Right, and he actually coins the term chair poisoning to describe this.
Chair poisoning, wow.
Yeah, and to understand why he thinks a chair is quite literally poisoning you, we have to look at the biology of allostatic load.
Okay, break that down for us.
So when you encounter a threat in the wild, your body releases cortisol and adrenaline, right? You fight or you run, the threat ends, and your nervous system resets.
Goes back to baseline.
Exactly. But allostatic load is what happens when that stress response never turns off. The author argues that sitting hunched over a screen restricts your breathing and forces your body into a posture of submission.
Okay.
So your brain interprets this forced sedentary compliance as a constant low-level threat. The cortisol just drips into your bloodstream all day, and he claims that erodes your immune system and tanks your testosterone.
I mean, I have to push back on this, just using that zoo analogy from earlier.
Sure.
Riker treats the modern open-plan office like a zoo enclosure designed to pacify a wild animal.
Yeah.
But isn't the trade-off of this zoo physical safety? Like, if you aren't fighting lions or, working in a coal mine, you don't get eaten and you don't get black lung. We literally have the highest life expectancy in human history.
And what's fascinating here is how Riker completely rejects that premise. He doesn't think safety is a desirable goal for men at all.
Wait, really? Not at all.
No. The evolutionary psychology argument he relies on asserts that men are biologically hardwired for dominance, struggle, and physical resistance.
Okay.
Your central nervous system expects you to hunt wildebeests, not answer Slack notifications.
Right, right.
So when you remove that physical struggle and you replace it with pure safety, the body misinterprets the lack of physical exertion as a physiological failure. He points to data suggesting that 78% of middle managers have cortisol levels that match a gazelle mid-chase.
That is insane.
Right. The brain thinks, I'm not moving, therefore I must be tracked. So to Riker, safety without physical struggle is the exact mechanism that causes the biological rot.
Wow. And the text gives some very visceral examples of men trying to reverse this rot. Like there's this one story about Dave, an Ohio man who swapped his daily SSRI antidepressants for a 500-pound deadlift.
Yeah, the Dave anecdote.
Right. And Riker claims that Dave cured his depression entirely just by pulling heavy iron off the floor. Now, I know our listeners might be a bit skeptical of replacing medical treatment with powerlifting, but what is the author's mechanical explanation for why this supposedly works?
Well, in Riker's framework, modern psychiatry is actively pathologizing male vigor. He believes that what a doctor diagnoses as anxiety or depression is often just suppressed primal energy that literally has nowhere to go.
Huh.
So when Dave lifts a 500-pound weight, he is simulating a life or death physical struggle. The nervous system finally gets the physical release it has been craving, and that flushes the cortisol and triggers a massive release of endorphins and testosterone.
Okay, that makes sense within his framework.
And he also cites a 2021 Stanford study claiming that men who stand during negotiations close deals 17% faster.
Wait, just from standing up? Like that's it?
That's it. The underlying logic he uses is purely neurochemical. Standing with your chest out is a primal dominance posture.
Right, taking up space.
Exactly. It physically takes up more space, which signals to your brain that you are in control. That posture alone decreases cortisol and increases testosterone, making you more assertive. As he puts it, your ancestors didn't forge alliances or win battles slouched in a beanbag chair.
That's a great line. And to combat this environment, which he repeatedly calls estrogen mimicking, his daily prescriptions are extreme.
Oh, very I get.
He advocates for brutal cold plunges, heavy kettlebell swings, waking up at 5 a.m. and exposing bare skin to raw dawn sunlight just to naturally spike testosterone.
Yeah.
He claims these are the ancestral hacks that pharmaceutical companies hate. He is basically advocating for using physical pain as biochemical warfare against mediocrity.
Yeah, he sees the gym not as a place for health, but as a place for combat training against a hostile culture. Lifting heavy weights triggers a survival response that clears out the psychological debris of what he calls the modern corporate plantation.
Right. And if your body is a fortress, that brings us to the author's next logical concern. Because if the corporate world is designed to drain your vitality, the legal and romantic world, he argues, is designed to extract your wealth.
Yes, exactly.
So let's talk about the system he calls the marriage plantation.
This is where the book dives heavily into the core grievances of the manosphere. Riker posits that the entire institution of modern marriage has been heavily influenced by feminist capture.
Okay.
The result, he argues, is a legal framework that inherently favors women and severely penalizes male labor, completely, regardless of who is actually at fault when a marriage ends.
There is a story in the book that really hammers this home. It's about a Texas oil rig worker.
Oh, right, the ranch guy?
Yeah. So this guy worked 80-hour weeks for 20 years, saved everything, built this beautiful $2 million ranch from scratch. And according to the text, a divorce court awarded the entire property to his ex-wife simply because she felt, quote, emotionally neglected while he was away working to fund her lifestyle.
Yeah, it's a brutal story. And Riker uses this as a cautionary tale to illustrate his central grievance with family law. He argues that modern courts treat male labor as a communal asset that can just be redistributed based on subjective emotional claims.
Right.
He refers to the family court system as the divorce industrial complex, arguing that it actively incentivizes women to break up families by guaranteeing them these massive financial rewards.
Right. And if you're listening right now, maybe on your commute, you might be wondering how on earth you were supposed to navigate a system described this way.
Yeah, it sounds pretty hopeless the way he lays it out.
It does. But here is where the book goes from just a list of complaints into a tactical, almost sci-fi survival manual.
Oh, definitely.
Because the author doesn't just complain about the legal system. He offers a literal blueprint for vanishing from it entirely. And he calls it the exit matrix.
The exit matrix. And this strategy aligns really heavily with the MGTOW philosophy that's men going their own way.
Right, MGTOW.
Exactly. Riker's logic is that you simply cannot fight a court system that holds all the institutional power, so you have to make yourself economically invisible to them.
Economically invisible.
Right. The entire playbook relies heavily on decentralization and cryptography.
Okay, let's break down how that actually works, because he gets incredibly specific here.
It does.
He tells readers to reject joint bank accounts entirely, likening them to financial cyanide.
Yeah, a death wish.
Instead, he advocates for multi-sig wallets and converting assets into cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin or Monero. For those unfamiliar, how does a multi-sig wallet actually stop a divorce judge? Like, mechanically.
So think of a multi-sig wallet like a digital safety deposit box that requires 3 different keys to open, and you need at least 2 of them to unlock the funds.
Okay, got it.
You hold one key, a trusted decentralized protocol holds another, and maybe a secure offshore server holds the third. So if a divorce court orders you to hand over your assets, you literally cannot do it on your own.
Wait, really?
Yeah, you only have one key. The pure mathematics of cryptography prevent the court from seizing the asset. Riker also suggests parking businesses in offshore LLCs. He actually jokes about naming one a honeypot LLC.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Which he says forensic accountants just cannot easily appraise or pierce during a trial.
And the imagery he uses for this level of financial secrecy is wild. Because the most extreme, memorable piece of advice in the whole text is his stance on wedding rings.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Like, if you do get married, he says traditional wedding rings are a symbol of legal subjugation. Instead, he suggests men should get a microscopic QR code tattooed on their ring finger.
A QR code tattoo.
Yes. And that QR code is the private key to a cold crypto wallet holding their emergency escape funds. I mean, that is an astonishing level of commitment to the bit.
It really is, but it perfectly highlights his core philosophy, which is trust cryptography, not legal contracts. Because cryptography doesn't care about emotional neglect. It only cares about math. And if financial invisibility isn't enough, he introduces the concept of sperm raids.
Okay, yeah, this part sounds straight out of a dystopian thriller.
Truly.
He advocates freezing your DNA at a fertility clinic, deleting all dating apps, and moving completely off-grid to places like rural Montana or Puerto Rico, simply so alimony courts and process servers can never physically track you down.
And the lengths to which he advises men to go, they really stem from his absolute distrust of fiat currency. He views regular government money as inherently confiscatory.
Right.
Between inflation and the threat of asset division, keeping money in a traditional bank account is, to him, just a spousal support check waiting to happen.
So we can see the sequence of his logic forming this literal fortress.
Exactly.
First, you secure the perimeter by fortifying your biology against the corporate system. Second, you hide your resources from the legal system using cryptography. But a strong body and hidden money mean nothing if society can still hack your mind. So the final frontier of this book is about fortifying your psychology against the cultural pressure to be, as he puts it, soft.
Mindset. This is where Riker takes direct aim at modern therapy culture. We are constantly bombarded with messaging that men need to open up, go to therapy, share their feelings.
Vulnerability.
Right. Riker calls this a trap. He argues that in the real world, male vulnerability is a massive liability.
And he shares an anecdote about this firefighter, right? With 15 years on the job.
Yes.
This guy confesses to his wife in this moment of weakness that he's struggling with fears of failing as a father. It's an honest, vulnerable, totally human moment.
Yeah.
But fast forward 6 months to divorce court. And the wife's legal team weaponizes that exact confession, presenting it to the judge as evidence of his, quote, unstable behavior to secure primary custody of their kids. And the judge agrees.
Which encapsulates his warning perfectly. Society and HR departments might loudly demand male vulnerability, but they vote with their actions and their lawyers.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
The author cites workplace studies claiming that men who openly discuss mental health struggles are severely penalized when it comes to promotions and leadership roles. So his conclusion is brutal. He says therapists and HR reps are not there to heal you. They are corporate snipers.
The corporate snipers, wow.
Agents of a system designed to identify and neutralize male aggression.
But, I mean, if you are a follower of this philosophy and you can't process your emotions in therapy or with your spouse, what exactly are you supposed to do with them? Like, the pressure has to go somewhere, right?
Right. And Riker introduces a concept here that he calls emotional keto.
Emotional keto.
Just like the keto diet forces your body to burn fat by cutting out carbohydrates, emotional keto forces your mind to build resilience by cutting out complaining and the expectation of empathy.
Okay, so you just bottle it up.
Well, he argues that men shouldn't try to process their pain verbally. Instead, you channel that angst, that depression, and that rage into physical labor. You outwork the trauma through deadlifts and rigid stoicism.
And he claims this stoic, action-oriented approach is how historical male bonding actually functioned, right?
Yes, exactly.
Like, brotherhood wasn't formed by sitting in a circle in a corporate mindfulness seminar talking about your feelings.
Historically, he says male bonds were forged entirely through shared suffering and physical risk. Whether that was hunting dangerous game, rebuilding a complex carburetor without a manual, or, stepping into a ring for bare-knuckle sparring.
It's raw physicality.
Riker believes that true male connection only thrives where risk remains. When you strip away the modern safety net, you replace it with ironclad loyalty. He actually describes this as brotherhood forged over charred meat and shared hardship. Trust isn't given. It is proven under pressure.
Which leads directly into one of the most intense physiological claims in the book.
Yeah.
And this is the sexual debt crisis.
Oh, yeah. This is a huge part of his thesis.
Riker is a massive advocate for semen retention. He argues that chronic masturbation, porn, and endless swiping on casual dating apps, all of it, is deliberately draining a man's dopamine and vitality. He views the entire internet as a simping economy designed to keep men chemically distracted and docile.
It is essentially a medieval monk's approach applied to modern endocrinology.
Yeah.
The logic here is that porn and digital gratification hijack the evolutionary reward system that was designed for actual physical conquest. By practicing semen retention for 30 days, Riker claims a man can achieve a 51% spike in baseline dopamine and raw aggression.
51%.
Yeah, that's his number. You are basically starving the artificial reward system, which forces your body to seek real-world achievement just to get its dopamine fix.
And you don't just sit around meditating on this energy ride. You
Yes.
channel that 51% spike into what he calls the regret horizon.
Regret horizon, yes.
You use that sexual fury to build businesses, acquire hard assets, establish a legacy. He embraces total, unapologetic workaholism. He says the whole concept of work-life balance is a scam designed to keep weak men mediocre.
Totally.
He points to historical conquerors and tech titans who worked 100-hour weeks. To Riker, you either work psychotically hard to leave a permanent mark on the world, or you die forgotten.
It is a worldview that measures human worth entirely by conquests, output, and endurance. As he explicitly states in the text, history doesn't itemize your yoga poses or your self-care days. It audits what you bled for.
Right. So what does this all mean for us as observers? Because when we zoom out and look at this deep dive, Allostatic Load presents a comprehensive, uncompromising worldview.
It really does.
It posits that modern institutions, from the ergonomic office chair to the marriage altar, are fundamentally hostile to masculinity. And for the men who buy into this philosophy, the only rational path forward is to build absolute physical, financial, and emotional fortresses against society.
It is a manifesto advocating for total strategic withdrawal from mainstream culture.
Yeah.
And this raises an incredibly profound question, especially when you look at the final chapter of the book.
Well, this part blew my mind.
Right. Riker talks about the neo-monastic movement, and he isn't just talking about, moving to a farm and turning off the Wi-Fi.
No.
He brings up cryonics. He suggests men should literally freeze their sperm to father children centuries from now, waiting for a time when, as he puts it, woke universities crumble and the legal system resets.
He is literally telling his readers to put their legacy on ice for the year 2525.
Exactly. Which leaves us with this thought to mull over, right? If a rapidly growing movement of men believes that the current societal game is so deeply structurally rigged against them that it can only be won by completely dropping out of the economy, refusing marriage, and literally freezing their DNA for a future century.
Yeah, what does that mean?
What does that say about the extreme, fractured polarization of our current cultural moment? When people feel they have to opt out of their own century to survive, it suggests a profound breakdown in the social contract.
It is a heavy question, and it really shows just how deep this ideology goes and why it is resonating with so many readers right now.
Definitely.
Remember, if you want to read the source material for yourself and explore these concepts directly, head over to Amazon Kindle and Google Playbooks to buy Allostatic Load. And make sure you follow the author at Conrad Riker on Substack.
Yep, highly recommend checking it out if you want to understand this movement.
And finally, please take a moment to like and subscribe to the show so you don't miss our next deep dive. Think back to that lion pacing behind the glass in the zoo. This book is essentially a hammer being handed to that lion, with meticulous instructions on exactly where to strike the glass.
Wow, yeah.
Whether breaking that glass leads to true freedom or just a different kind of danger out in the wild, well, that is up for debate. Thanks for joining us.